If you look then again in 1888, the picture changes dramatically again.
Right, yeah, drunk and disorderly on the public street, just over and over and over again.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most disturbing discoveries uncovered in celebs' ancestry.
Oh my God.
Number 10, Courtney Cox. Friends star Courtney Cox set out to trace her mother's English lineage. She doesn't expect any spectacular revelations, so she's surprised to find royal roots, including her 26 times great-grandfather, William the Conqueror.
So wait, he's the reason why England is here? You conquered it from France.
Yeah.
Okay. This is pretty intense.
Another one of Cox's ancestors is her 18 times great-grandfather, Thomas de Berkeley. The English baron's Gloucestershire home of Berkeley Castle served as a prison for the abdicated King Edward II in 1327.
So this is where Edward II was held prisoner for 5.5 months.
This is also where he died, and while some accounts credit natural causes, others believed he was killed.
They said late king was shut up in a closed chamber, but that not sufficing to hasten his death.
The historian shared the rumours detailing Edward's gruesome death, though it's believed that he was ultimately murdered via suffocation.
In a sense, it was a crime against God as much as it was a crime against the king, and it was a crime against the kingdom.
Berkeley and Cox's 19 times great-grandfather, Roger Mortimer, were put on trial. The former was acquitted, while the latter was executed.
Okay. This is one of the greatest soap operas I've ever heard.
Number 9, Steve Buscemi. Like others on this list, actor-filmmaker Steve Buscemi's reason for digging into his genealogy is his mother.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Okay.
The Brooklyn native never met his grandmother, Amanda Van Dyne, because she took her life when his mother was very young.
After my mother died, my sister had this made up.
She had it made up because there were so few pictures of
There's
her.
no yeah.
In his search, he found that his great-great-grandfather, Ralph Montgomery, had a rough go of it.
Well, I was talking about going down dark roads, and this certainly seems like one.
By 1860, he switched professions from a dentist to a grocer. Based on a discarded letter, this was also around the time he contemplated ending his own life.
But then, months later, it's found, and not only found, but printed in the newspaper.
In 1861, he became a Union soldier in the Civil War, left his family, and later started a new one. Though Montgomery ultimately died of tuberculosis in 1878, Buscemi theorizes that generations of his family have suffered from depression.
But when I think of the past generations, the things that they went through, and that they survived, it really makes me so much more appreciative of my family.
Number 8, Jason Sudeikis. SNL alum Jason Sudeikis set out to find the mysterious circumstances of his paternal grandfather Stanley's death in 1948.
Don't know how, don't know where, don't know what happened or, how that affected my gram and obviously my dad.
He learned that Stanley married his wife Edna on September 25th, 1945, abandoning her the same day, leaving behind his daughter and unborn son Daniel, Jason's father. He never supported them financially, and by 1947, they legally separated.
So he never even met my dad.
Not according to the court record.
Up to this point.
That's right.
That's heavy duty.
Reading the fatal sidewalk accident report, Jason discovered that Stanley was unhoused at the time of his death. His ex-wife and uncle's refusal to be involved suggested that he may have burned too many bridges with his substance use.
We contacted his wife and we asked her to attend the inquest, and she stated that she wanted nothing to do with it, that she had been legally separated for 3 years.
Going back further, Stanley Sr. also abandoned his family. But the tragic irony is that Stanley Sr.'s father, Joseph, died while working to provide for his family.
I feel it is a form of closure, this journey, to relay the information to my dad.
Number 7, Marissa Tom. For Marissa Tom, this foray into genealogical research was intended to uncover the truth about her great-grandfather, Francesco Leopoldo Bianchi's death in 1910.
The story is that he was shot in a bar.
The family's story was that he was killed because of a misdeed, possibly for having an affair or getting into financial trouble. But as Tomei travels around Tuscany, she finds pieces that make up a different story. In 1911, a man named Terzilio Lazaretsky claimed he was attacked by Bianchi and shot him in self-defense.
Treacherously shot Leopoldo Bianchi, killing him on the spot.
However, it was reported that the bullet entered the back of Bianchi's head. Despite evidence suggesting murder, Lazaretsky was acquitted of voluntary homicide.
Self-defense.
Coming from behind. It's a strange and bizarre.
The animosity between the men stemmed from a business deal gone wrong, not to any philandering on Bianchi's part, as his family believed.
And now I have much more of a connection to him. I can feel his presence. He's much more. He's alive in my heart and in my mind's eye and in my family again.
Number 6, Megan Mullally. Like fellow actress Marissa Tom, Megan Mullally grew up hearing stories about her relatives.
My grandfather, my father's father, he was an alcoholic.
Her grandfather was violent towards his sons, behaviour that her father would later exhibit himself. Because of his emotional and verbal mistreatment throughout her childhood, Megan prepared to uncover some dark truths about her paternal ancestors.
I still have certain questions on my father's side where the psychological and emotional darkness in my family comes from.
Through newspapers and court records, she finds that her great-great-grandfather, Richard Ira Mullally, was charged and convicted of physically abusing his pregnant wife Elizabeth in 1859. After his death, Elizabeth married her second husband, James Venable, with whom she endured similar mistreatment. Even though Megan anticipated the outcome, she's still saddened to learn about the troubling history of substance use disorders and violence involving the men on her father's side.
That makes me really sad.
Number 5, Chelsea Handler. Comedian, author Chelsea Handler was raised Jewish, although her mother Rita was Mormon.
My father, I guess, made a deal with my mother when they had children that they were going to be raised Jewish.
Rita was born in Germany and lived there until her father, Karl Stoker, a German soldier in World War II, brought the family to the United States. The big mystery was where Grandpa Karl's loyalties lay, and Handler dreaded he might have had ties to the Nazis.
He was a Nazi enthusiast, and this is where my grandfather worked.
Exactly.
So that makes my grandfather what?
In Germany, she tried to gauge his enthusiasm through his military records, which showed that he was drafted and seemingly lacked ambition to advance rank. But one of the saddest parts of the episodes sees Handler reading her grandmother Elizabeth's tragic account of life in post-World War I Germany. She details the grim conditions, unemployment, extreme poverty, and scarcity of food.
Oh yes, I can see my mother's head vividly when she bent her head over us. Her tears dropping onto our cheeks when we asked for a small piece of bread, saying, "Children, I don't have anything."
Number 4, Jesse Tyler Ferguson. Modern Family star Jesse Tyler Ferguson comes from a line of Jessies, including his paternal grandmother, whom he was named after.
The moment my grandmother passed away, you don't have that person to talk to get those personal stories from.
She was named after her father, Jesse Wheat Uppercue, a lawyer who was also seemingly a career criminal. The first piece of information Ferguson finds on his great-grandfather is an article about the 1872 death of Baltimore resident Amelia Wheat, Uppercue's elderly aunt.
Okay, well, this got juicy really fast.
He was arrested as a murder suspect, but made it through 2 trials without a guilty verdict. Throughout his life, JW moved around the country, getting into more trouble, including 2 arrests for embezzlement, all while going through 3 marriages that all ended in divorce.
Pull it together, Jesse. What happened?
However, Ferguson's happy to hear that the otherwise disappointing relative cared for his 5 children.
But when they divorced, he continued to take care of them as his own. I'm proud of him.
Number 3, Christina Applegate. Growing up, Christina Applegate didn't know much, if anything, about her paternal grandparents. Sadly, her father Robert didn't either.
I want to know why my grandmother couldn't take care of him. Not just because of her age, there has to be another reason.
He was raised by his grandparents and only knew of rumours about how and when his mother died. On her genealogical journey, she finds that Lavina Shaw and Paul Applegate, her grandparents, went through a tumultuous divorce and custody battle in the 1940s.
Wait a minute, when did they first separate?
Well, do you want to take a look?
During the legal proceedings, a doctor reported that young Robert appeared to be malnourished, a discovery that visibly upsets Applegate.
And on various dates struck in and beat her.
More shocking revelations are Paul's alleged mistreatment of Lavina, as well as her struggles with chronic substance use, which likely contributed to her early death. Though Robert is shocked to learn the details of his mother's life, he finally has some closure.
And I really, really hope with all my heart that at the end of the process, he really sees what a miracle he is.
Number 2, Regina King. Looking into her maternal ancestry, Regina King digs deeper into the life of her 2-times great-grandfather, Moses Crosby, aka Moses Hughes, an educator and civil rights activist.
Using Moses' name, I then look for the family in Alabama, since I know that's where Alice lived, and I locate them on the 1900 census.
While living in Alabama in 1868, an altercation with a white man got Moses' name added to the local Ku Klux Klan's blacklist, making him a target in the white community.
It gives permission for white men and women to attack at will those who are listed.
One night, a group of KKK members broke into Moses' home, and though he escaped, his wife, Mary Meadow, was shot and killed.
Okay, let me stop.
Within days, he was charged with assault and attempted murder of the white man and received a 2-year sentence.
When we think about all of this, the context of who the jurors were and the fact that this sets the perfect scenario for Moses to be handed a judgment of guilty.
Moses endured many hardships, but King admires his perseverance in the face of racism and injustices.
Moses' entire story is very similar to stories that we're still hearing today.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1, Lisa Kudrow. Since she was young, actress Lisa Kudrow, executive producer of Who Do You Think You Are, heard tell of Belarusian Jewish family members' devastating lives during the Holocaust.
Most American Jews from Eastern Europe, they have a Holocaust story. There were relatives that were left behind.
In season 1 of the series, she travels to the site of the 1942 Ilya massacre, where 750 to 900 Jewish villagers were killed, including her paternal great-grandmother, Mira Mordechowitz.
The local Christian population later told us that for many hours they could hear from afar the screams.
Kudrow knew about this horrific time in history and the tragic deaths of her ancestors and countless others.
Thus ended Ilya, a Jewish community with centuries of a glorious history.
But being in Ilya and reading about the detailed atrocities that were committed decades before, she couldn't help but get emotional.
You make people afraid enough of something completely manufactured, and you can drive them to become murderers, cold-blooded murderers.
What reveal did you think was the darkest? Have you uncovered anything shocking in your family's history? Let us know in the comments below.
So you take care of your own.
Yeah.
You look out for your own.
Yeah.
And
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.